Namo Pankacham Akhanda Mangalakaram Vyaptam Yena Characharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Ajnanatimirandasya Jnanananda Shalakaya Chakshushum Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Gurureva Param Brahma Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Chinmayam Vyapyat Sarvam Trailokyam Sacharacharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Tvameva Mata Chapita Tvameva Bandhu Saka Tvameva Vidya Dravinam Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Gurudeva Deva Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om. So if my memory is correct, we had finished verse number 24.
Yes, sir.
So we'll just recite 22, 23 and 24.
Okay. Hari Om everyone. Verse 22. Swarupameva me sattvam
Rupameva me sattvam
na tu dharmo na bhasvat
न तु धर्मो न भवत्
madanyasya satho bhavan
मादन्यस्य सतो भावान्
nahi sajjatirishyate
न हि सज्जातिरिष्यते
Swarupameva me jnanam
स्वरूपमेव मे ज्ञानम्
na gunassa guno yadi
न गुणः सगुणो यदि
anatmatvam va
अनात्मसत्त्वं वा
ज्ञेयाज्ञेयत्वयोः पतेत्
ज्ञेयाज्ञेयद्वयोः पतेत्
अहमेव सुखं नान्यत्
अहमेव सुखं नान्यत्
अन्यच्चेनैव तत्सुखम्
अन्यच्चेनैव तत्सुखम्
अमदर्थं न हि प्रेयो
अमद्धं न हि प्रेयो
मदर्थं न स्वतः प्रियम्
मदर्थं न स्वतः प्रियम्.
Hari Om everybody. So we are towards the end of this book, Advaita Makaranda. The primary objective of this book is essentially tell you that you are first of all the Atma and you are the same as the Brahman, Tat Tvam Asi. And we started off with the fact that each of the various terms, Tat Tvam Asi, how are the same definition given in the Taittiriya Upanishad for the Brahman, which also said Tattvamasi, and therefore he equated the Atman and the Brahman. And in the last 15 verses or so, every verse he would take up something that is conflicting with this view that how can I don't transcend space, I don't transcend time, I am an Alpam, I don't really have the power to build the world. And he systematically tried to convince us that each of those things are not true, but it is because of lack of understanding of what the reality is. The other thing that is very important in this book, and this is unique among a lot of the other Vedanta classes books, is everything is written in the first person. It is written ahameva. It is meant for me. Why I am not this? So there is not a question of somebody else being something. It is as if I am trying to find this knowledge. I get these questions in my mind, and then he kind of tries to work through the logic and try to answer each of the question. So the last three verses, 22, 23, and 24, he took each of these qualities, what we call Swarupa Lakshanam, or the inherent qualities of the Atma. He said Swayameva. If you go back and look at each of the verses, he said, I am Sat, I am Chit, and I am Anantam. And we went through each of those various qualities in great detail. Sat is the quality of existence. The world comes to exist because of me. If I am not there, the world doesn't exist. I give existence to everything else in the world. Chit, I have the power to know. I have the power of knowledge. So when an object comes in a vritti form in my mind, that vritti is converted into knowledge. That power to know is something that I possess. And the last thing is I am Anantam. We talked about how we are beyond time, beyond space, and beyond objects. See, normally when we look at objects, we think that if I'm Apple, then I cannot be present anywhere else, because if there's an orange or something, my definition or my boundaries are with the contours of the apple. We are not Vastu Tantram. We are not bounded by the object because we are beyond the object. So we went through each of those qualities, things in great discussion, and that's where we stopped it. And the reason Anantam and Anandam are confused in a lot of ways is that one of the main problems of not feeling Anandam is lack of isolation. It's due to isolation. You're isolated from the object that you want, and that lack of not having the object that you want causes desire and anxiety and all the other qualities that you have. And the minute you get that object, whatever you desire, it could be anything, it could be wealth, it could be status, it could be a car, what really happens is the anxiety in your mind disappears, and you, for a brief moment, you get purnatvam, you get the completeness. For that brief moment when you're feeling happy, you are not even thinking about who you are. If you really examine some of the situations in your life where you get that kind of bliss or that anandam, purnatvam, at that time you lose your body-mind identification, and you feel complete, and you don't need anything else to be happy at that time. You have this concept that we have in Sanskrit called tripti. You're completely content with the world as it is, but then that doesn't last too long. Immediately we get another desire, and then we kind of move on to something else. But if you examine the time when you're completely content or happy for a brief moment, it could be anything that you're really striving for or working hard towards. At that time when you achieve that goal, you feel anantam, you feel that complete purnatvam, which is what causes the bliss, causes the anandam. There is another important thing that actually I was reading another book over the weekend, which I thought would be interesting for you. And I think this was also a question that Sri had asked last time. When we think of Srishti, when we think of creation, there are two levels of Srishti. There is this Ishvara Srishti, which is he created the world, he created the Jagat, the earth, the plants and everything that we see. They in themselves do not cause any pain to us. Then we actually create a Srishti on top of it. We call it the Jiva Srishti. That is, we have a like or dislike for a particular entity that Ishvara has created. We say the Ishvara creation is also not permanent because it keeps on changing, but that in itself does not cause a problem. It is our Srishti on top of that. And let me give you an example when with what I'm trying to explain. Let's say that you're walking on the street and you have a gold coin. If you are really of a sattvic nature, you will look at the gold coin and say that doesn't belong to me, and you kind of move on. If you are not of the sattvic nature, you end up taking that gold coin and keeping it with you. And then you might feel some guiltiness, but you kind of suppress all that and say, oh, I got the gold coin, so I'm very happy. And then the person who actually lost the gold coin, he's obviously feeling depressed. Now, Ishvara created only one entity, which is the gold coin. That gold coin creates different srishtis in each of our minds, depending on how we look at the object. If somebody doesn't like the object, it doesn't bother them at all. They just move on. Somebody likes the object, then there is a feeling of attraction and a feeling of trying to possess it and getting it for your own thing. And the third person, obviously he or she likes that entity and they don't have it and they feel sadness. Now, all those emotions that you have, they're not caused by gold. They're not caused by the Ishwar Srishti. They're caused by your likes and dislikes. And so the samsara that you live in, it is actually caused by your likes and dislikes. Remember, we talked about that samsara that we experience in our life, it is not the samsara that is outside. That is Ishvara Srishti. It doesn't create the problems. The problems are created by the samsara that's in our mind, the world that is created in the mind. We create a world on top of that Ishvara Srishti, and that creates all the manatapams that we go through, whether it is happiness, sadness. If you look at the Ishvara Srishti in an objective way, in a subjective way, without putting in your own likes and dislikes on top of it, then the world will not give you any problems. The world will not give you any sadness or happiness or anything that you feel. So one of the main things that we need to control in our life, and this is why we say we have to do karma yoga, is to minimize the ability to project, minimize the ability to project something on top of that entity. You look at the entity for what it is, it will not cause any problems. But you look at that entity and try to project your emotion on top of it. You look at a car and you say, I wish I could drive the car. You look at a house and you say, I wish I lived in that house. That extra srishti you put on that object is what causes your world. So the more you can eliminate your likes and dislikes and look at the world for what it is, rather than what you want it to be, it can eliminate a lot of your problems and it can totally get the samsara removed from you. Like, for example, you look at somebody. Sometimes you like that person the minute you look at it. You will not know anything about that person, but you will go tell a friend that I like the looks of that person. What is that look? Who nobody knows. But you immediately put a quality on top of that person, the way he talks, the way he dresses or whatever, and he's classified into something positive. And maybe the other person he might be a little bit less sophisticated. Like that's what we happen in India, right? One of the main things that I say between a cultured and an uncultured person is cultured person tries to hide their emotions and then show it at the right time. An uncultured person is absolutely unfiltered. Whatever he or she thinks at that time, they just open it up, and that might not come across very well to everybody. So, but coming back to the point, you have to look at this. It is not the Ishvara Srishti that is causing the problem. It is the Jiva Srishti. And the Jiva Srishti is caused by our vasanas and by our mind, which projects likes and dislikes on that object. If there is Ishvara Srishti is not there, the Jiva Srishti will not happen. So for the Jiva Srishti to happen, it's like the Adhishtanam on which we project our likes and dislikes. And that's why my world is different than your world, because I might be looking at the same object, but I come to a completely different conclusion based on the vasanas and based on my likes and my dislikes. So I thought it was a good way to describe the samsara that I've been trying to explain for a while, that the more we can prevent our mind from projecting, but then just look at the mind for what it is seeing, that is, see the things in a subjective way for what it is. And that is the quality that we should aim for. It is not easy because we all come up with a set of baggage, with a set of vasanas, which actually makes something like us, makes us like some objects and dislike an object. So let me stop there and see if you had any questions. If not, we can move forward. The next 3 verses are relatively simple after all the major concepts that have been covered. So maybe if there's if there's a question, I'm willing to stop. If not, Usha ji, you can read verse number 25.
Verse 25. Nahi nana swarupam syat.
Nahi nana
sarupam
syat.
Ekam vastu kadachana.
ekam
vastu kadachana.
Tasmadakhanda evasmi.
tasmadakhanda evasmi
Vijahajjagatim bhidam.
It is something that we have explained before. What he's saying is that the 3 qualities that I discussed in the previous 3 verses are not 3 legs of a stool, or are not 3 qualities of Atman, but they are the Swarupa Lakshanam of the Atman. Atman is one entity that has these 3 qualities, or these 3 effects. They are not separate part of the Atman, that is, one leg is Brahman, one leg is Jnanam, one leg is Satyam, the other leg is Anantam. No, it's all together. It's like, for example, when you look at a fire, you can't separate the heat and light. The heat and light are integral part of the fire. They coexist together. They are akhandam. They cannot be split. Similarly, Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam are essentially akhandam, or what we call Swarupam, or in this particular case, they are Eka Vastu. So they are one entity that has all the 3 qualities. So maybe Gopalji, you can start reading the text. Gopalji, did you hear what I'm said? Or you can't hear me? Or you don't have a textbook?
Sorry.
Okay. You were really contemplating on what I said, I hope.
Yeah. The next verse further emphasizes the oneness of the 3 aspects of existence: consciousness and bliss, and oneness with I, the self. Na cannot, he indeed, nana swarupam of many natures, syat be, ekam vastu, one reality, kadachan ever, tasmat therefore, akhanda eva, undivided alone, asmi I am, vijahat giving up, jagatim of the world, bidam differences. One's reality indeed cannot be many natures ever. Therefore, dismissing, that is discarding, the differences that belong to the world, upadhis, undivided do I remain, exist. It has been discussed earlier that I am of the nature of existence, I am of the nature of consciousness, and I am of the nature of bliss. This does not mean that I have 3 natures, that existence, consciousness, and bliss are different. The truth, which is existence, consciousness, bliss, is me, myself. I am the one undivided and indivisible existence, consciousness, bliss. If one insists that existence, consciousness, and bliss are not one and the same, then we ask, is there any consciousness different from existence to eliminate it? If we assume that consciousness is different from existence, that is, Chit is different from Sat, it would mean that consciousness is non-existent. On the other hand, if we assume that existence is different from consciousness, then existence will become inert. Bliss is defined as that which is infinite. Therefore, if we assume that existence is not infinity, meaning if it is different from infinity, then existence will become finite. And again, if we assume that infinity is different from existence, that infinity, that is bliss, will become non-existent. Thus, contradictions would arise where we to assume that existence, consciousness, and bliss or infinity are different. In the same way, if infinity, bliss, is considered different from consciousness, the former will become inert, and if consciousness is different from infinity, consciousness will become finite. We conclude that existence is consciousness, existence, consciousness is bliss, and that alone I am. If they are one, then why call them by three different names: existence, consciousness, and bliss? It is called so because of the conditioning of the three bodies, upadhis. The physical or gross body, sthula sarira, manifests the existence aspect of the truth. In the subtle body, sukshma sarira, we experience the manifestation of existence. I am reading. Consciousness, I know that I am reading. And bliss, I enjoy what I read. The casual body, karana sarira, pervades the gross and subtle bodies, hence manifests existence, consciousness, and bliss in the waking and dream states, and predominantly manifests bliss in the deep sleep state. Therefore, the truth is called existence, consciousness, and bliss only with respect to the three bodies, even though it is one. Therefore, when we shift our attention from the three bodies, we realize the undivided, indivisible, homogeneous truth. Call it existence, consciousness, or bliss.
Any questions? A good way to understand this is the BMI chart. Remember, we had the Om on top. We have body, mind, and intellect. And then through that, we have this concept of things, objects, and objects, thoughts, and emotions. And each one is acting through each of the shariras we move forward. We didn't have bliss there. The bliss or the ananda comes in the karna sharira. So all we see is the effects, but the power that makes all this happen is the same. More importantly, this power is who I am. I am not the body, mind, intellect. This is the power that I am. And this power or this Om is the same across everyone else. The Om appears different because of the Upadhi. Remember, we talked about this word called Upadhi, which is an object that is so close to another object and it throws away its properties on the objects. The body, mind, intellect is extremely close to the Atman. So the qualities of the body, mind, intellect are superimposed on the Atman, and therefore we think that the Atman is like a Russian doll sitting inside this body, mind, intellect. Similarly, this body, mind, intellect is nothing but a jadam, just like your chair. Just because the consciousness is reflected through the sukshma sharira, the body gets the concept of being sentient, being alive. So the liveliness of the body or the life in the body comes from the Atman. The conditioning that the Atman is confined to the edges of my body comes from the Upadhi of the body, mind, intellect. This can also be taken in another way. You take two pots, a small pot and a big pot. The space seems to be confined in the small pot in a smaller way, in the big pot in a bigger way. But when you remove the pot, which is the Upadhi, the pot is the Upadhi that confined the space in that format. When you remove that pot and you remove the bigger pot, the space is the same. You cannot make out a distinction between the large pot space and the small pot space. They are exactly the same. So this consciousness pervading through our body is exactly like the space in the consciousness. This is something that he'll address again in the second chapter, in the next verse, where we say the Atman and the Brahman are the same. Why do we say the Atman and the Brahman are the same? When the Atman is confined by the body, mind, intellect, it becomes Jiva, which is what we think ourselves to be. When the Brahman is confined by the Maya, it becomes Ishvara. So from the Ishvara, if you take the Upadhis out, that is, from the Jiva, you take the body, mind, intellect out. From the Ishvara, you take Maya out. What is left is the Atma, and if you do the equation, mathematical equation, what is left is Atman and the Brahman. They are exactly the same. And this is something that we will discuss in the next verse, which is where he is trying to, again, the ultimate aim of this book is to first of all prove to you that you're not the body, mind, intellect, you are the Atman. This Atman is the same thing as the Brahman. This is what we study in Gita also, the Tat Tvam Asi. Now the Tat Tvam Asi actually is for the Swarupa Lakshana of Tat and Tvam. It is not the indicated Mikara, because when you look at me and you look at Ishvara, they look so different. How can I be my measly body be as powerful as the Ishvara? But what you need to do there is just like what I said before, you need to remove the upadhis and look at the entity that is getting confined by the upadhis. So you remove the body, mind, intellect from the Tat, and you remove the Maya, you remove the Maya from the Tat, and you remove the body, mind, intellect, or the three shariras from the Tvam, and then it is Asi. So they are the same. There is the Aikyam, which is one of the greatest Mahavakyas that we all studied in Gita. And there are 4 Mahavakyas out of each of the Vedas. And the reason for the Mahavakya is to contemplate. When you sit in the meditation seat, you should take this word and contemplate on it, and eventually you will get the visibility of the consciousness that you are. So let me see if you have any questions in that regard. Anything that come to mind? If not, we'll move to the next one. We already covered it, but I just wanted to read what's the description.
Not about this verse that we just went through, but what you commented on before about how a cultured person versus somebody who is otherwise is quick to reflect or comment, and the other one is not reflect. Essentially, where I'm going with this is a lot of people have this issue of being judgmental or very, very quick to offer an opinion, and that is conditioned by your fears, your desires, and your conditioning because of the vasanas. Is holding back these things, the practice of holding back, the practice of withholding, even the formation of a response in your head, is that something that lends itself not only in the waking state, because you practice that enough, then you start holding back and saying it's actually pointless for me to make a comment because it has no implication to anything. But does that have a further impact on the other 2 states that also play a role in spiritual, or that have manifestations of the spiritual progress and play a role in the spiritual advancement? Does it make sense, my question?
I think, let me explain what I understood, and you can tell me whether I'm saying right or wrong. The fundamental issue that causes the world to happen is because of the judgment, because of the likes and dislikes. Whether you're a cultured person or an uncultured person, the fact is that you should not form an opinion. Okay, the cultured person doesn't say it right in the face of that person. The uncultured person just says whatever he or she is feeling. But the fact is that both those people, the reason I mentioned cultured and uncultured is just our way of looking at that. That's again a definition that we provide, right? So the real problem is making the judgment without really knowing. And that judgment, just like what you said, it is based on our experience and our likes and dislikes. And therefore, the more judgmental we are, the more likes and dislikes we have, then we create this Jiva Srishti that I told you about. So the critical thing here is to eliminate the Raga Dvesha. Raga Dvesha are essentially the likes and dislikes. So if you remove that and you see everything for what it is, not what you think it is, but what it really is, then what will happen is slowly but surely the samsara that you create in your mind will be exactly like what the Ishvara creation is, and you will not have the manatapam that you have in the world. Because you still will see the world. Even a person who has the knowledge of the Brahman and the experience of the Brahman As long as he has the karma in him, prarabdha karma in him, he or she will still experience the Ishvara Srishti because he'll be living in this world amongst us. But he will not form the samsara. That will not affect his he will not create manatapam in his mind because he doesn't have any likes and dislikes. So everything whatever is there, he'll accept it. It is not like he's going to say, oh, I don't like this, I don't like that, I want this to happen, I don't want that to happen. That is where the problem comes in. So the fact is not the cultured, uncultured person. The fact is forming a judgment of everything based on all our things. I'm not saying that everybody, I'm perfect either. We all do that. But where you need to go with it is, remember we talked about the sadhana chatushtaya. So you need to go through of controlling your mind, controlling your senses, and to be able to not have raga dvesha as you move forward. Everything is samatvam. Everything is the same. Whether you get a kaju in your prasadam or you get grapes in your prasadam, you shouldn't kind of equate between the two. That's the prasada buddhi. Right? When it happens in the temple, you don't complain. But when it happens in the real world, you have all kinds of things to say about it.
But does that extend, or does it need to extend, or does it have an impact on, or is it even relevant on the
No, if you have a
dreaming
lot of
state?
raga dveshas, your dream will have those qualities in it.
Right.
So the more you can, the only way you learn everything is in the waking state. You don't really have a control in the dream and deep sleep state. So you have to practice what you really want to achieve in the waking state and control your mind. And therefore, maybe your dream, I don't know that yet because I'm not there, but maybe your dreams also will be sattvic. You will not have any of these likes and dislikes in your dream too because you have the samatvam quality, you like everything that you see.
Which is what I was trying to imply by saying when you do this in the waking state, obviously the deep sleep, nothing happens and nothing's supposed to happen. But in the dream state, that also has an effect on how the dream state, plays itself.
Correct. The dream state is just a reaction of what has happened because the controlling data points are either the memory, which also has been created in a waking state at some point in time, or the waking state as to what you see. So the real control, because if you really look at it, your mind doesn't project when you're dreaming whether you like it or not. It just happens. You really don't have any control over it. You might not like what is in the dream, but you really cannot say, I don't like this, so don't come in the dream. It doesn't happen. The dream is beyond your control. It just happens. What you can control is whether you liked something or not in the waking state, because that's when you have the brain or buddhi working on it, and the buddhi can actually control the mind. Whereas in the dream state, the buddhi goes to sleep. It's just the mind reflecting on the with its memories and what it has seen in the waking state. So when you want to control yourself, you obviously need the intellect, and that happens only in the waking state. Because
No,
they say
it's
even the
almost
knowledge that you are striving towards happens only in the waking state.
right. So it's almost safe to say that the strides, the progress you make here manifests itself as a cleaner slate or a better slate in your dreams, and that says that it's a good thing. And
See,
I'm not trying to
no, you're right, but Sri, I think we are putting the focus on the wrong thing.
Okay.
Dream is probably 10 minutes of your life, of a 24-hour period. Your waking state is somewhere in the range of 16 to 18 hours. If you can control your mind in that time frame, everything else will fall into place.
Right.
Rather than focusing what happens in dream and waking state. Waking state, nothing happens. So we are talking about a small little interval of time, which obviously, as I've said, depends on what happens in the waking state, because that's where you're getting all your inputs into your mind.
Right. I mean, the reason why I was trying to not really focus on that, the reason I was trying to stress that is because that is involuntary, the dream state, whereas the waking state is very voluntary, and we knowingly, unknowingly, biases do things, but in the dream state it is very involuntary, and that may be something that is more deeper, and that's why but I was not trying to harp on that.
No, but the thing is that the waking state is the voluntary state, so that's where you need to exhibit control. Right? Dream is involuntary. You really have no control of what happens there. So in the dream state, over time, through practices, through sadhanas, you should eliminate the raga dvesha. Because that's where you can evolve yourself.
Yep. Thank you very much, sir.
Any other questions?
Yes, I
Yes,
have a question,
Ushaji.
Marini. Like you gave this example multiple times when you want to explain this consciousness or Atma, this railway, the person in the train and somebody
Correct.
on the platform, right? So there has to be some constant entity to understand the concept. Similarly, you also gave this same thing when this avastatrayam, right? Sushupti, Nidra, and all that. So when it comes to dreams, right? I believe dreams are in chit. They're stored in the chit.
They're stored in the
And
mind. They're not stored in the chit. Chit is just the
okay,
power of the consciousness. The
hmm
dream and the waking state, all your experiences happens in the mind. It's the mind that goes through
okay,
all these states. The consciousness doesn't go through anything. It isn't witness
right,
to all these three states.
yeah.
So
So
the
if
dream
I want
actually
to
happens in the
explain,
mind.
okay, if I want to explain to somebody who is new to this concept, right, in explaining this, what is this consciousness or Atma? Can I give that example? Like when you wake up, right? Is it that consciousness is I don't know what the right word, telling you about the dream? Can I say, hey, that is in the neti process? I can say because there is something else called consciousness or Atma. The dreams that are stored in manas are able to, like we are able to memorize, or when you wake up. Can I give that example to somebody? Like, okay, you can in addition to this train example, um, so that is why we can come to a conclusion saying that there is another entity. That is why you are able to, when you wake up, somebody is able to,
Yeah, you when you
getting
wake
you.
up, you wake up in the same state when you went to sleep, right? And so there is somebody who's actually remembering what was what you had, because as soon as you wake up, all your problems, who you are, everything just comes into
Right,
the equation again, right? If in deep sleep you don't know who you are, right? If there is no entity that is watching that, then the deep sleep should get you into a new state which has no collection of what happened before. But you wake up to the same state that you went in when you went to bed. So obviously there
right.
is something that is recording what your state of mind was at that particular point of time, and it's able to again bring it back to your attention.
So I can define that as a like consciousness or Chaitanya
That's one way of
Mahatma.
describing a consciousness. I would not put too much emphasis on it, but I think that railway example is probably the better example, that there has to be an entity, because
Hmm.
that's more scientific, right? Without that entity, you can't observe change. If you are the mind
Right,
and the mind is going through these changes, you will not know what is waking state, what is dream state, and what is deep sleep state. Somebody has to be away from that to witness that. Same thing, if you're staying in the, if you have, you live in the house. Let's say that you're in the house and you have a lot of visitors coming in and out. If you also go out of the house and come back in, you don't know who came and who visited. You need to be in the
right,
house throughout. People come and go. People come and go. Then there is some constant there who's observing the change. If then
right.
there is no constant there, and let's say you also go out and come, you don't know who came, who went. And that is
Yes,
not the
yes. Yeah,
problem with
I'm
you.
I'm totally convinced.
No, that's not the problem with you
Um,
when you wake up. So there is
mhm.
an entity that is monitoring that.
Monitoring. And also, if what is the reason, like if consciousness is helping to get the dream out when we wake up, right? We remember certain dreams, we don't, certain dreams we don't remember, or vaguely we say, hey, something happened that we I'm not able to recollect. Is it,
That is
can we
probably
put the blame on the
more the quality of the dream rather than the consciousness.
Okay.
And I really don't want to spend any time on dream because it's not real. It's just a
Mhm.
waste of time
I'm trying
discussing the whole
to,
concept.
yes, yeah,
It's just
yeah.
not worth it. There's so much emphasis on dream and all that.
Uh,
That's not.
no, here, I'm not asking about the dream. I'm just only connecting to the consciousness.
No, no.
Is it
Whether it is
because,
whether you remember or do not remember, I think that's more to do with the dream. If the dream has really created
okay,
an effect in your mind, maybe you'll remember it. If the dream does not
okay,
create an effect, there are so many things. Even in waking world, somebody says something, some things register in your mind, some things don't. Right? That is
don't,
not the
okay.
fault of the consciousness. It's the fault of the mind.
Consciousness. Okay, that's what I want. Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Anything else? All right, let's go to the next one. We have already covered it, so we just read it and we'll be done.
Okay. The verse number 26. परोक्षता परिच्छेद
परोक्षदा परिच्छेद
शाबल्यापोह निर्मलम्
चाबल्यापोह निर्मलम्
तदसीति गिरा लक्ष्यम्
तदसीति गिरा लक्ष्यम्
अहमेकरसम्ममः
अहमेकरसं महः
Here, couple of things. See, when you write Sanskrit shlokas, there is something called chandas. So you need to follow the meter. And so because of that, he cannot say that Mahaha word is actually another synonym for Satchidananda. He could not say Satchidananda at the end of that particular word. He says that the Paroksha and Paricheda are the two upadhis that we put on the Atma, which is actually Nirmalam, which does not have any qualities of his own. And this Paroksha and Paricheda create the two entities that we think are related, which is the Atman and the Brahma, which is the Jiva and the Ishvara. If you remove the Paricheda, you remove the upadhis of the Jiva and you remove the upadhis of the Ishvara, what is left is the Satchidananda, or which he calls as Maham, which is Nirmalam, which is not something that it doesn't have any change, doesn't have any qualities. Another example that is given in a bunch of books is, like, for example, you as an entity have only one body. Now, when you are with your son, you are the father. What is the father? Father is a Jiva Srishti. It is something that we have created in our Jiva. When you are with your father, I'm sure there are a lot of people interacted on Father's Day, which just happened yesterday, so I'm just thinking of that. So when you are with your father, you are your son. You are the son. Your father is the father. But there's only one body that Ishvara created. On that Ishvara's body, you are putting a lot of Jiva Srishti on top of it. And so the world of Jiva, or the world that we live in, is all Jiva Srishtis. In fact, I've told you multiple times, the entire transactional world is the relationship of the bodies. It's not, Atma does not have any transactions. It's a witness to every single transaction. So the upadhis is what creates the division or the diversity that we see in the world. If you can remove the upadhis from the world, then we will see the underlying adhishtanam on which the diversity is displayed is the same. That's why we say namaste, namahate, because the underlying Atman and the underlying Atman in me are the same. So anyway, let's read this more. You'll probably get some more description. Whom do I call? Maybe Vijayji, you can read this.
The Chandogya Upanishad says that thou art Tattvamasi. Much as we would like to believe the words of the scriptures, it is difficult to resolve the contradiction which this statement presents. How can the finite individual, you and I, be the infinite truth? This contradiction is resolved in the following words. Parokshata paricheda shabalya poha nirmalam. The pure one eliminating the conditionings of remoteness and limitation. Tat asi iti, as that thou. Gira, by the word Shruti. Lakshyam, indicated. Aham. Ekarasam, of one essence. Mahaha, the great light of consciousness. That great light of consciousness of one essence am I, indicated by the words of the Shruti as that thou art, and which is the pure one, immaculate, eliminating through knowledge the conditionings of remoteness and limitations. Reflection and contemplation on the great sentences Mahavakyas dispels ignorance and directly reveals the truth. In the great sentence, that thou art, Tattvamasi, the pronoun that, Tat, indicates God, Ishvara, the truth, Brahman associated with the total conditionings, Samasti or macrocosm. Since God is identified with the totality, he is omniscient and omnipotent, Sarvagnya and Sarvasaktiman. He is also considered as someone far away, Paroksha. Hence, with the truth identified with the totality, God, is associated with infinitude and remoteness. Similarly, the pronoun thou, you, or tvam denotes the individual being jiva, the truth, Brahman, in association with individual conditionings, vyasti, or microcosm. Since the individual identifies with the individual body, mind, intellect, he considers himself finite with limited knowledge and strength, alpagnya and alpa shaktiman. However, this individuality is experienced directly within us as I. I never think of myself as there and then, but experience myself always as now and here, right within, aparoksha. Hence, the truth identified with the individual is associated with finitude and directness. Therefore, the literal meaning of that thou art is contradictory. Its indicative meaning is to be understood in the following way. When the conditioning of remoteness is eliminated from God, Ishvara, and that of finitude from the individual, Jiva, the infinite truth, Brahman, is experienced as the inner self, Atma. I am infinite is the realization. The Godhood and individuality both merge in the realization of the unconditioned truth. Such a realization is not just an intellectual appreciation, but a direct experience.
Any questions? You've discussed this topic multiple times. Hopefully it should be a little clear to you by now.
This is a exposition in logic, in a way that one could not have contemplated at the beginning of this book. It's quite astounding for me. I mean, I just am taken aback by how loosely I've been thinking about things. It's a really extraordinary piece of work. I think I'm just beginning to appreciate what he's saying, but clearly lots to think about.
It is a piece of God's work. We call it aparushaya. This is not something a man has created. These are revelations that came in the rishis, who were the exalted ones, and they have kind of passed it on from one generation to the other. So we should just be blessed that the Veda, if you really look through the Vedanta, and I'm going to kind of burst the bubble, they don't really give you any knowledge. All they do is remove your ignorance. That Atman is something that is always there, is Swayam Prakashan. Remember, I talked to you about existence. That existence is something that I don't need outside to let me know. It's always there. My mind was confused because of the ignorance of the self, and I identified myself to be someone else. All Vedanta is doing is revealing your true identity that you always had with you. That's why we say you don't need to do any karma, or you don't need to go outside to find yourself. This self is with you all the time. It's just been covered in ignorance. And what Vedas have done through gurus and through shastras to remove that ignorance and let you identify with the real you. That's exactly what Vedanta does. It's not giving you anything dramatic. There is no learning here. It is just removing all the false knowledge that we have, or the false identification that we have, to realize who we are. That is the goal of Vedanta going forward.
Yeah, and the lack of logic, I guess, that we kind of stumble through with.
I wouldn't say logic. What I mean is lack of vichara, lack of thinking, thinking, and the differentiation, right? That is what, this is not really logical per se, but it is essentially, you do the vichara to see what is real, what is not real, and through that, you come to this knowledge. For that, you need to have those sixfold qualities that we talked about. Sadhana Chatushti.
Yeah.
Anything else? Not the last one is very simple. It basically tells you everything. So what I'll do is, there's two more verses. The last verse is nothing but, so let's see if we can finish it off in the next class. I'll leave it open. I'm not going to be preparing a lot. I'll come open-ended. The length of the class completely depends on you. If you have any questions, we'll discuss it. If not, we'll read the book and we'll be done in 10-15 minutes. So bring your questions. And I think today's 22nd, so hopefully by 29th we'll be done. After that, I would like to take a break, and we'll see what we can do. We'll come back in the fall and revisit the whole thing, but at least we'll finish the book, and hopefully it'll give you something to think about and practice during the summer.
Yeah. Hariji, one thought that I had was, sadhana chatushtayam is something that we should definitely go back and look again and again and make sure we, stick or incorporate that in our lives, right? Because without that, it's going to be very hard to experience any of this. We can study the book, think about it, but then that nididhyasana, if I understood you correctly, happens when there is blessing of God and you've really made a lot of progress on the fourfold qualities, right?
No, it's a lifelong journey. See, the thing is that if we were doing it the right way, you would actually learn this thing in your Gurukulam, and that'll be towards the end of the Gurukulam of 12 years. So you would have actually practiced all those asanas, like sadhanas, both the javams and upasanas, the mental control and the physical control, the karmas that you have to do. And you would start off at a much higher level of the sadhana chatushtayam, right? In our case, we have been exposed to it later on in life. We were actually pursuing something else, but we all had. I would not get too depressed there, because we have some elements of it, maybe not the exact amount that is needed, but we did have some elements of it which made us sit through all these hours that we went through. Look at how many hours I have spent on this book, right? If you didn't have the sadhana chatushtayam, even a little bit of it, you probably will not enjoy it. You will probably feel bored. There's so many of them. 99% of the world's population doesn't even get to listen. Even our own Indian culture, not everybody is into it, right? That's the sadhana chatushtayam. So what our Swamiji used to tell us all the time is that do not think your journey is complete by reading the text once. Because once it'll reveal something to you. But by then, when you finish the text, your sadhana chatushtaya has gone up. You actually spend more time in developing further qualities. You come back and read it again, the same thing will reveal something dramatically different. And that revelation is what ultimately gets you to the nididhyasana, right? Because it's ultimately something that comes from within. It's not something that I can thrust on you. That revelation comes as you have a bigger amount of those qualities. And I think you can continue to work on the qualities on the side, but at the same time, come back to the scriptures after like if you go back and read the same book, let's say a year from now, you will probably get a lot more out of this book than what you've got so far.
Right. And I know in one of the previous lectures you had mentioned, you should be doing either meditation, you should be working, or else worshipping or studying. So, 4 things you're constantly.
Basically, any activity every day that you can do which breaks that concept that I'm the body, mind, intellect will move you in the right direction. Right? Identify that you are the underlying consciousness that's powering the body, not the other way around. Because our entire life, whatever we have learned, wherever we are, we have been driven and this is not just this janma. This has happened in multiple janmas before we got this body, that we are the body. So that's why it takes time. Just imagine a rust in a knife. If it has been gone through years of it, how much effort it takes to move that. So don't be disheartened by the activity. I think, as they say, every journey begins with a step. So you be committed to it and believe that this is where Shraddha comes in. Have the confidence that you follow this thing, it will give you dividends, because there are people before you, multiple people before you, thousands of years ago, who have gone through this and learned the knowledge. So if you have the same Shraddha and put the same amount of effort into it, you can also get there. Okay, if you don't have anything, I'll just read the last shloka. We'll finish it in the next class. So maybe whom do I pick? Maybe Vandana ji. Oh, sorry, first you have to read the shloka. So Usha ji, just read it.
Sloka 27. Upashanta Jagadjiva.
Upashanta Jagadjiva.
Shishyachareshwara Brahmam.
Shishyachareshwara Brahmam.
Swata Siddhamanadyantam.
స్వతసిద్ధమాద్యంతం
పరిపూర్ణమహం మహః.
పరిపూర్ణమహమహః.
Here he goes to the last level where he says, there is no guru, there is no shishya, we are all essentially upadhis. The real power behind each one of them is the underlying consciousness, which is what I've been telling you multiple times, that the diversity that we see in the world is because of the body, mind, intellect, not because of the consciousness. And we are not the body, mind, intellect. We are the underlying consciousness that's powering all of us. So let's just read the description. We have 5 minutes. So maybe Vandana ji, you can read.
Constant reflection, as indicated from verse 2 to 26, removes all doubts about the nature of truth. The habitual false notions of limitations are to be eliminated by contemplation or meditation. Such spiritual practices culminate in self-realization. The unique experience of a man of realization is described in the penultimate verse. Upashanta Jagat Jiva Shishya Acharya Ishwar Brahmam. One in whom the delusion of the world, the individual, the disciple, the teacher, and the Lord are all set to naught. Swataha Siddham, the self-established. Anadi Antam, without beginning and end. Paripurnam, all full. Aham, I am. Mahaha, the great light of consciousness. That effulgent consciousness I am, which is self-established, all full, without beginning and end, and in which the illusory ideas of the worlds, the individual, the disciple, the teacher, and God are all extant. I am full and complete, paripurnoham. I am free from the limitation of time, space, and objects. I am self-evident, swataha siddha. I am not known by any means of knowledge, as I do not need any. I am self-effulgent. Also, no means of knowledge exists which can know me, as I, the subject, can never be known as another object. All other means of knowledge exist only because of me, since I alone enliven them and give them existence. I am beginningless and endless, Anadi Ananta. I illumine all modifications of birth, death, and so on, but am myself birthless, therefore beginningless and deathless, therefore endless. I am the changeless substratum on which all changes take place. In a state of ignorance, the individual, jiva, experiences the changing world of names and forms, jagat, and the suffering of worldly existence, samsara. He therefore wishes to liberate himself from all finitude and so becomes a sincere seeker, mumukshu. He approaches a master, acharya, and learns about self-knowledge, assuming a role of a disciple, sishya. He worships the Lord Ishvara for his grace in his quest for truth. When he realizes the truth, I am infinite, the one without a second, all dualities and notions of individuality, totality, guru, disciple, individual word, part, whole, all dissolves. This verse speaks of the inexplicable experience of the truth which each one of us must strive to realize.
This experience that we are trying to realize will happen only in Nididhyasana. This experience of truth happens when you go to the meditation seat with any of the Mahavakyas or any of so many different Mahavakyas or similar Vakyas we have gone through this book, that I am beginningless, I am not the body, I am the Chida. This is something you should, I'm sure all of you have heard of this. I came across this last week. It's a very melodious shloka. I was actually listening to it. All of you would have listened to it also. It's called Shatkam. What Shatkam is it? I'm just trying.
Nirvana Shatkam.
Nirvana Shatkam. Just the context in which it is said, it is just impressive. Adi Shankaracharya was going through the forests near the Vindhyachal, where after taking sannyasa from Kaladi and he was going up north, and he met Govindapadacharya, who is his guru. And Govindapadacharya asked him who you are. And these 6 verses are the description to that question that was asked by an 8-year-old. This is the culture that you belong. How many people know that we have these kinds of masters passing on this knowledge to us? Listen to that shloka. In fact, I have the thing. I'll send it to you. There's a melodious song. I'll put it in the WhatsApp. Listen to the song. The song also has each of the verses are also described. If you read each of the verses, it is exactly what we studied, and it is something by which you can memorize. So whenever you have any doubts of who you are, just sing that song, and it'll give you the bliss. It'll remove all the doubts that you have. I was thinking of all of you when I've come across this verse long time ago, but then I was doing some cleaning of my WhatsApp, and I came across this verse, and I thought this would be a good thing to put it in the group. I'll send it to Balaji Garu. Any questions? We're already at 8:30.
We started the class on September 29th, Harij.
Okay, good. You keep track of it. He's my guru. He's my marketing guru. He communicates everything to everybody. I'm just here to come and just talk. That's all. He makes
We are
it.
so blessed.
So you've had so much patience to help us and explain.
Yes,
No, I am not helping anything. I'm just sharing what I learned. That is what even in our Shastras it says, the least you can do is help others by promoting the knowledge of the self and knowledge of God. And it removes everybody's sorrows. So the little that I can do from that, I'm humbled that I have this opportunity. And I'm actually really, I don't have any words to say that there are people who come every week to listen to what I have to say. I cannot imagine that I have that power. So thank you very much for coming and pampering me throughout this journey going forward. So we'll finish
We
in the
are
next
already
class.
ready for the next academic years, Hariji.
You will not let it go. This was supposed to be just one class.
We signed up for life.
But as long as there is no exam.
There won't be any exam. We will discuss all that later. But anyway, next week we'll just come and finish the last verse, and then I'll answer any questions or anything that you have. And after that, I normally go to India in August, so my mom is there. I spend 3 weeks with her. So I'll be back after Labor Day, and I'll be in touch with Balaji Garu, and I don't know whether I'll promise anything, but I'll see what I can do. I feel bad that I'm going to let you guys down. You're very, very dedicated. So that's what pushes me over the edge to come and help you. So
what can we do to bring you back? Let us know.
We'll discuss that later. So anyway, we'll stop here.
Yeah.
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om. I'm actually going to the World Cup game next Saturday, England versus Panama.
Nice.
I'm a soccer fan. I used to play a lot of soccer when I was in college. I represented IIT. So it's my passion. And the tickets are very expensive. So the only way I justified it to my wife is that FIFA has given me pleasure from the 70s. So 50 years of pleasure. I don't mind paying a 4-figure amount for a ticket. But anyway, I'll let you know how the game turned out. It's on the following Saturday. So all of you have a great week, and we'll meet next Monday. Bye now.
Thank you.
Thank you.